Hi and welcome to this vlog. I'm doing a few more vlogs of late actually, because I think people like to sort of listen to what I've sort of picked up as I've been on my rounds around the dealers. So they don't seem to get more likes. Anyway, we'll soon find out if this one's the same. Right, what I'm going to say today is this. Now, first thing I'm starting off is I contributed to a new book a few months ago now. And it's called Camper Heaven by Dee Campling. I've never met Dee. I've only spoken to her on the phone very briefly. She does like interior design anyway. It's a book about basically, and I'm sure it'll do very well, probably better than my history books probably, of sort of interiors that people have done to the camper vans and things. I think there's the odd caravan in there, I'm not sure. But things like this. Like the horse box type on that Merc, and yeah, not entirely my cup of tea, I'll admit, but I'm sure some people will like it. Now the thing is, at the very back, should I say, I mean, it's really well produced. I must admit, it's a nice produced book, and I think they've done a great job on that. It's got a thing about who contributed to the book, of course. And I'm in it somewhere. Acknowledgements. Oh, here we go. Business credits. Andrew Jenkinson, UK Caravan industry expert and published author of 16 books. YouTube channel Caravan industry expert. Okay. Facebook Caravan history books. Right. Now, unfortunately, if you don't know, a lot of people won't. They won't know what Andrew Jenkinson's actually done in this book. And what I have done is I've supplied all the old illustrations. Now, when I do a book, what I tend to do is, if I do an illustration like that and someone supplied it, I'll say supplied by Fred Smith or whatever. And even my own actual photographs using it's photography Andrew Jenkinson. And that's how it should be done, but anyway, they've not done it in this, and they did show me that was going to happen, but anyway, it hasn't. I did another book, images for another book as well, so that's out in March. That was my freebie copy, I think. I'm trying to think what it's called now. I think that was called Van Life. I can't remember, and I did some. That's a bit rude, isn't it, not speaking to you. I did some images for that. I did about 30 odd actually, and I didn't get a mention on all the images, and I supplied most of the images to that book. But anyway, I'm not after gold, I'm not after the red carpet treatment or anything, but some acknowledgement does go a long way, and it's hard enough trying to publicise the books and the channel as it is. So every little bit helps, as Tesco says. But anyway, next thing is NEC Caravan Show coming up soon, so I'll do a few things from there. We'll look at the new Discovery 2s from Bailey. Just still 3 layouts. Forgive me, I got a really bad back. 3 layouts, one on the new one. So I'll be having a look and review on that. Don't think they've done much to them. I think just basically tweak them, to be quite honest. Now, hang on, where's my cup of tea? Now, I was making this cup of tea, and yes, it's here. Sorry, it's gone a bit dark. Which will be back in the light again. Here we go. I've just come back from the dealers. I didn't get a cup of tea there, but I didn't really go and see them. I just got on with what I needed to do. As you'll see on one of the videos that will get published at some stage. Right. So, NEC. If you see me with the old YouTube channel top on, follow me, Andy Jenkinson. Please come and say hello. Please come and have your photograph taken. Let's do a selfie together on the video as well for the channel. Lovely to meet everybody when I see them, and some great people, and some really encouraging words. Actually, it's quite moving. Now, talking about Bailey, a couple of years ago, they were going to do an endurance test apparently across the Sahara Desert. Now, COVID put a stop to that. I mean, they still went off out there and knowing that COVID was going to, the restrictions were coming. Anyway, they ought to come back. But it's all happening again. Now, endurance runs were something that used to happen a lot in days gone by with all sorts of vehicles and things. But with caravans, endurance runs really finished by the 80s, and that was it. But it all started off with people like Ettles. If you get the Ettles book by Amberley Publishing, just to warn you, there's very few copies left. It can be bought on Kindle. They were one of the first caravan manufacturers to tow a caravan around the Monte Carlo Rally Circuit, I think in 1932, and then they crossed the Sahara Desert in about 1934-35 with a Hillman Wizard car and an Ettles Nymph touring caravan, and just a couple of guys. And they lived off tins of food, and they took pistols with them, because in the desert there was a lot of sort of bandits, I presume, around, and they thought, well, if they're going to come and get us, we might as well have a pot at them. And they had steel shutters on the windows. That was real, how can I put it? That was real exploring stuff. That was real, that was just doing things that were a bit risky. By the 50s, of course, Sam Alper with Sprite Caravans, he did a lot of endurance runs. Again, really, it was to prove the Sprite, because the Sprite Caravan was a very cheap caravan to buy, and people just wondered if it would stand up to heavy use. And Sam and a couple of others would take a caravan across abroad for several days, probably doing a few sales orders on his way for exports, but coming back and the caravan would be intact. And he broke 1 or 2 records like that, and won a cup from a French magazine. I just can't remember, 1954 or something, I can't remember just off the top of my head. Again, Sprite, the story of Sprite Caravans, the Velocity Publishing, now only available on Kindle, unless you can find one in print that's been used. And also the story of CI Caravans on Amberley Publishing, which is still current, but again, very few copies left when I inquired at the beginning of this year. So if you want to get a copy, get onto Amazon and grab a copy. Again, available in Kindle edition, but I prefer still a good old-fashioned book to leaf through. Right, so we're on about this endurance run. Taking one YouTuber as a no, which I won't say any more about that. A few of the people, 1 or 2 of the people I know that I wouldn't say. Anyway, I think I shouldn't say any more, to be quite honest. But anyway, at the end of the day, on this thing, the Caravan Club have got involved as well. Like they have done with a previous endurance run that Bailey did to the Arctic, which I don't know really. I don't know about you. What do you think? Do you think it really helped sell a caravan? Does Joe Public actually say, "Oh, I didn't know this gone to the, they've taken this to the Sahara and back. This must be a good caravan," because it doesn't work like that, as we know. I think they're taking a Phoenix and one of the Bailey motorhomes now. A friend of a friend of a friend had a Phoenix, bought it new, and they had a lot of problems with the water coming in through the sides, and they basically in the end took the caravan back and got the money back, and then went and bought Swift Elegance, I think it was, which was a completely different caravan altogether, far more expensive from upmarket. But anyway, they had lots of problems. Anyway, so I can't remember when this is happening. I think it's going to happen next month in March, probably after the show. And they're all going over. There's about 12 of them, I think, and various cars and stuff, and doing this trip. And I think they're taking a travel writer from the Sun or something, newspaper, and also, it's just sort of, I don't really know what it's going to prove, because really, they're banging about Alutech caravans. I mean, the Alutech construction, which has obviously got rid of the wood. It's composite in the sides, which is a great thing. I thought about doing something like that years ago, because I used to do a bit of design of caravans and send off ideas on construction methods to the then great CI Caravans, which was Sam Alper's spot. And they used to do actually reports back to me and sort of say, well, we know you're only 16 and 17, but you know, that's not a bad idea, but that wouldn't work, and all this, that and the other. But anyway, so really, I don't know what really Bailey are trying to achieve, really, because those sort of things now are long out of fashion. Back in Sam Alper's day in the 50s, a lot of roads in Europe were in a terrible state still from the war. And a lot of places that Sam Alper went, you wouldn't probably be able to go now, actually, through various political problems and what have you. And he went into some real outback places, and there was just only him and a co-driver, and I think 3 of them went. No backup vehicle, nothing. Anything went wrong, they just had to find somebody in a village, and like a blacksmith or something like that, to get something welded up or whatever. Those to me were true sort of pioneering sort of guides, really. So I think personally, as a manufacturer, those endurance runs, I don't see the point. The money it would be costing, I think I'd put into my into the business, i.e. For after sales and also quality control. I think that's to be addressed for a lot of the manufacturers. I was at a dealer's the other day, and he was telling me they've had a lot of caravans coming in damp. Caravans are only a few years old, really damp. And they said that it's been horrific. They've just, you know, people with a caravan that really should be about 35 grand, and it's soaking through. But anyway, we won't go into that now. So yeah, I don't see what the point of that is. If you disagree with me, please comment. I'm all ears. But anyway, that's my theory on that one. But anyway, before I go, the next thing is Caravan Club Tow Car Awards. Now I've noticed that these tow car awards, I've noticed the amount of cars that have been entered now are a lot lower than what they used to be. And I know that I'm a member of the Guild of Motoring Journalists, and I've been a member now for about 16 or 17 years, and I've tested around about 300, 400 cars in that time. Towing and just normal sort of city cars for just general getting about. And I still do the odd tar, but getting cars these days now is very, very difficult. The manufacturers really tightened up now and made life quite difficult for a lot of car motoring journalists that I know, and including myself. But for what they had Skoda have always been pretty keen to be part of this, and they had in there the Skoda Karoq, which basically replaced the Skoda Yeti. Now I'm a big Skoda fan, I've had a lot of Skodas, and I've got a Skoda Karoq, and yes, I've got the Sport line, and yes, it's in the same colour, in velvet red metallic, that's actually in the that won the overall Tow Car of the Year award for the Caravan Club. Except there's a 1.5 petrol diesel petrol engine. I've got the diesel version. I did do a test drive of petrol, but I'd still like the diesel. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a review on that car, how it tows, for when I've used it for towing, and also generally day-to-day running and how its drawbacks and its good points. Happily, it's got a lot of good points more than drawbacks, and that's why I tend to do when I'm choosing a car or a caravan. Really, I usually do a lot of homework. I spend 3 or 4 months at least, and then seeing what car magazines and that say about the vehicle, JD Power Survey, resale values, all sort of things. So anyway, I then ended up buying the Karoq Sport line in velvet red, and I've had that now for 3 years, and yeah, it's won the Caravan Club Tow Car of the Year award, and I fully endorse that, especially in the diesel anyway, because it is a good tow car. But anyway, I'll do a separate video on that. Next thing is, and I'll go after this because I don't want to bore anybody, is that the wife the other day was having a bit of a clear out. Well, nothing quite unusual about that, but when I came down the kitchen I found these. Oops, I'm going to chip one. A saucer, and like a cereal bowl. And I said to her, where did you find these? So they're on top of the cupboard. Now, I've always been a bit of a collector of these sort of things, because many years ago, caravan manufacturers, especially in the 50s and 60s, used to give you cutlery with your caravan. And if you had bought a Bluebird caravan, it'd have a photograph of, it'd have a Bluebird logo on there, or whatever. Mainly it was supplied with upmarket caravans, but for a while some of the lower end market vans came with them. So I thought, well, I know Sprite didn't put cutlery in their caravans, and then I realised, I looked on, and you won't be able to see it on the camera, but in very small writing it says UBC Caravans. Now UBC are a dealership up in Newcastle, and UBC once had a lot of branches. They're a very old established company, UBC, and they used to have a massive big depot down at Heathrow, but they used to do big hire fleets, because back in the day, back in the sort of 60s and 70s, hiring touring caravans was a big business and very popular. And so all the big dealers, especially even small dealers, have probably 10, 15 hire vans, mainly Sprites, eventually, but later on, like things like Monzas and Pipers, which are Abbey's low-cost brand. And these vans usually, they might put a heater in them, or a fridge, and at the end of the season, after the hiring, they'd sell them off at a big discounted price. But what they used to do, they used to supply crockery, and this is obviously from that era. Now I reckon this is down probably to about late 70s, I would think, and I would think probably that would be the time when they would stop putting cutlery in, because plates would get broken, I suppose, and it would be an expensive thing to do. But it was just nice at how they had that. I just liked it. Now I can't remember buying these somewhere, and I don't know whether Sam Alper gave me these, because I got to know Sam Alper, the guy that started Sprite and CI Caravans, very well over the years, over the last few years before he sadly died. And he told me lots of things about the industry and about Sprites and Ettles and everything, and I got a lot of stuff off Sam. Had some really good long conversations with him. Very interesting guy, and he was interested, I was interested, and passionate about the industry. But anyway, so yeah, those plates. I've also got plates I've collected over the years, like from the 1930s, car cruiser caravans, 50s car cruisers, and some Fairhome caravan plates, probably from about, I think they're probably from the early 60s. I got those from a guy down in Bristol many years ago, who collected Wedgwood, and he had to get this particular Wedgwood stuff, he had to buy this caravan stuff, and somebody put him on to me. I don't know who it was now, but it was, but I went down to Bristol to pick this stuff up. So yeah, it's interesting. That's what used to happen, but obviously the caravan manufacturer stopped doing it. It would be too expensive in the end. So that's the end of the vlog. I bet you're all saying, thank God for that. And I'm going to have a sip of my tea, because I do a lot of jabbering. And I'll leave you to say thank you for all the comments coming through. You seem to like the used stuff. There'll be also a mixture of stuff. There'll be some more motorhome stuff coming on actually at some stage. Also, I'm going to do more used stuff as well. Obviously used Taurus, probably the odd used motorhome, and possibly some used holiday home stuff as well, because I know there are people who are interested in the holiday home side of things. And I know several people who've got a holiday home and a touring caravan. Lucky them, I say. I'd love to be able to do that. But anyway, please keep subscribing. It costs you nothing to subscribe. Please click the like button. Please keep watching the channel. And please, if you see me round the shows or at a dealer, come across and say hello. Plenty of people do. Don't be frightened. They don't bite. You know, people say, oh, we didn't know whether to come across and say hello. Or so I say, yeah, come on. Have a chat. You know, I'm busy, but I've got, always a couple of minutes to have a chat and you know, tell me what's happening. Have you got a caravan? Are you happy with it? And all that sort of thing. And yeah, I really love talking to people who've got motorhomes and caravans and stuff, and generally giving me their views. But anyway, it's basically a thumbs up for the channel from getting a lot of people liking it. A lot of people just like the fact, as I tell it as it is. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't have to creep or crawl around anybody to get myself a free cover to cover my caravan over, or a cover at the front or anything like that. So you won't get me going on about something brilliant unless I really do like it, not just because the manufacturer will give me a freebie at the end of it, because that goes on rather a lot. And it's not just in caravan stuff, it's everything across the board actually. So if I'm going to get any paid promotion, I'll tell you, and then you know. But at the moment I don't do that. I'm just really an ordinary guy with all my knowledge. I just want to be able to share it with people, i.e. either the books, do the odd radio talk, that sort of thing. And I might even do a podcast at some stage. I'm looking into that, and start doing that sort of thing. But please keep, as I say, please keep subscribing, and don't forget to subscribe to Practical Caravan, because I do a lot of used buys and new stuff in there, and you'll get some more detailed reviews in there than you will do on the videos, because of obviously the time and all that business. So I love you and leave you, and I'll see you on the next video. I think it's absolutely chugging it down with rain out there at the moment. Oh man, I just cleaned the car before as well. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you again for watching.